Imagine being trapped at the bottom of the world, your ship crushed by ice, no radio, no help, and no way home. The temperature plunging below -40. Food running out. 27 men looking to you for answers, and failure means death. This is not fiction. This is the true story of Sir Ernest Shackleton and the Endurance. A story of impossible odds, freezing seas, and one man's unshakable will to bring his men back alive. Today, we dive into the greatest survival story in history. In October 1915, after more than 8 grueling months trapped in the Antarctic pack ice, Shackleton made the hardest decision of his life. He ordered his men to abandon their beloved ship, the Endurance. His grand dream, to lead the first land crossing of the Antarctic continent, was gone. Instead of glory, Shackleton now faced something far greater, keeping 27 men alive in one of the harshest places on Earth. The Endurance had been their home, their fortress, their hope. Now, crushed by ice, it slipped beneath the frozen waves. On the drifting floe, surrounded by endless white, Shackleton realized the battle had only just begun. Shackleton knew the greatest danger wasn't the cold, it wasn't hunger, it wasn't even the storms. The true enemy was despair. All it would take was a spark of negativity, one bitter man spreading doubt, and the group could splinter. In Antarctica, that meant death. So Shackleton led with optimism. The very first morning on the ice, he rose early, brewed an extra strong pot of tea, and personally served it to the men with humor and warmth. He didn't lecture them with false promises, he simply showed, through his calm confidence, that they still had a chance. Every day, he gave them purpose. Hunting seals, salvaging supplies, building better shelters. The work kept them busy, and at the end of each day, the men could say, "We survived another one." Shackleton wasn't just fighting nature. He was waging war on hopelessness. As the weeks dragged into months, Shackleton became a master psychologist. He spoke to each man individually, tailoring his words to their hearts. With the scientists, he spoke of science. With the dreamers, he quoted poets. He listened, he sympathized, he encouraged. And when hard choices arose, Shackleton shouldered the burden. When the ship's cook couldn't bear to kill his pet cat, Shackleton quietly took the responsibility himself. When the ship's physicist faltered under brutal labor, Shackleton reassigned him to lighter duties without shame. He identified weak links early. Frank Hurley, the proud photographer, was made to feel vital, invited into Shackleton's own tent, praised for his opinions. The self-centered navigator, Hubert Hudson, was given attention and watched closely. Potential troublemakers were separated into different tents, preventing any whisper of mutiny. And when boredom threatened to erode spirits, Shackleton turned to joy. He organized games on the ice, storytelling at night, music, even holidays. Against all odds, laughter echoed across the frozen floes. After months of drifting, their floe began to crack apart. Death loomed. Shackleton gave the order, into the lifeboats. Through towering waves and freezing spray, they rowed as one. Days later, frostbitten and exhausted, they stumbled ashore on Elephant Island, a tiny strip of rock and ice. It was salvation and prison. The island was barren, exposed, with little food. Shackleton knew, if they stayed, they would die. So he chose the unthinkable. He would take one small boat, just 22 feet long, and sail across the most dangerous seas on Earth, 800 miles, to South Georgia Island, their only hope of rescue. 6 men set out in the James Caird, including Shackleton himself. Among them was Harry McNeish, the ship's grumpy carpenter. Shackleton cleverly made McNeish responsible for strengthening the boat, ensuring his loyalty. For weeks, they battled hurricane-force winds, freezing spray, and waves the size of houses. Their clothes were soaked, their food nearly gone. Some days, the men were too weak to row. When spirits flagged, Shackleton stopped the boat, boiled milk, and insisted they rest together. He never singled out a man for weakness. He preserved dignity and morale. But even Shackleton cracked once. As a storm pushed them back, a tiny bird hovered over their boat. Exhausted, Shackleton snapped, swinging wildly, cursing. For the first time in 15 months, his mask of control slipped. Moments later, ashamed, he laughed at himself and made a joke. He would not fail his men now. He swallowed his frustration, as he always had. After 17 days on the world's deadliest seas, the James Caird reached South Georgia Island. Shackleton and 2 men then climbed across its unmapped, glacier-covered mountains, a journey thought impossible. Finally, Shackleton staggered into a whaling station, half dead but alive. And then, his greatest triumph. Months later, against every odd, he returned to Elephant Island. One by one, the stranded men climbed aboard rescue ships. Not a single life was lost. In the annals of exploration, Shackleton's Antarctic expedition stands apart, not for discovery, not for conquest, but for survival, the mountaineer Sir Edmund Hillary would later say. For scientific leadership, give me Scott. For swift, efficient travel, Amundsen. But when you are in a hopeless situation, when there seems no way out, get down on your knees and pray for Shackleton. Shackleton's dream of crossing Antarctica was never realized. But in failure, he achieved something greater. He proved the power of resilience, compassion, and leadership. In the face of despair, Shackleton gave his men not just survival, but hope. And that is why his story is remembered, over a century later, as the greatest survival story ever told.